11:35 on the Big Show clock. Bob Quinn on the Big Show today, being brought to you by the Iowa Agriculture Water Alliance. Clean Water in Iowa starts here. You know what tomorrow is? Wednesday. Clean Water Wednesday. We'll have a special guest during the Big Show tomorrow, talking about some of the clean water projects that they are working on and actually helping you maybe find some financing programs available for what you might be wanting to do with clean water projects. That's coming up tomorrow during the Big Show. Right now, starting off a look in the marketplace, Brian Hoops, Midwest Market Solutions, on the telephone line with us. Brian, yesterday we had some activity going as far as movement in corn and soybeans. Today, not much happening out there. What's going on in the market?
Yeah, Bob, it's much quieter today than what it was yesterday. Now, yesterday there were some rumors that China had bought more U.S. soybeans, anywhere from 10 to 12 cargoes, and it was confirmed this morning as private exporters announced 336,000 beans sold to China. And that was kind of confirmation of yesterday's rally. So the rumor gave us the strength yesterday. Today was kind of just a little follow-through, but really not much happening with that rumor. Now, we should point out that if they have bought 10 to 12 cargoes, that means China has brought their total purchases to about 10.5 million metric tons of soybeans, and they had committed to buy 12 million. So they're very close to reaching their commitment for this year. Now, they didn't do it by the end of December. Maybe they were supposed to do it by February, but they're very close, as long as they don't wash out of any of these purchases, to making this happen.
All right, well, let's take a look at the marketplace. November beans right now at $10.75. Target's kind of $11. Think we'll get there before the WASDE report?
Well, I don't know that we can get there prior to the report. That's a pretty big jump, and we probably will see more of a consolidation ahead of Monday. We could see a movement maybe tomorrow after some of the private estimates come out and tell us what the trade believes. I think we're going to see probably very minimal changes in soybean yields, maybe more of a bigger change in corn, 1 to 2 bushel per acre less corn yields than previously. That could be very friendly, I think, for the corn market. If we can get soybeans up around the $11 mark, I certainly think that's an opportunity for producers to step in, make some sales, buy some put options, whatever you want to do, but at least they'll give you an opportunity to make some market action. And if you're looking at December corn, we're knocking on the door at 465. At one time I thought we'd plant a lot less corn acres than we did last year. I don't know that we will this year because of what has happened with the soybean values. But you get soybeans at $11, corn in that 470, 475 range. Good places to start, in my opinion.
Well, December corn, you mentioned, we're 464 right now, so not that far away. What numbers are Midwest Market Solutions looking at as far as the yield number?
We haven't put our estimates out yet. The news wires are looking for them by tomorrow. But I certainly think, instead of a 186 yield in corn, we're probably going to be closer to 184, 183 and a half, something like that. Soybean yield in the December report was 53. A year ago, we were 50.7. I wouldn't be surprised to see us come down just a little bit from that number, but you could go maybe a half bushel higher, half bushel lower. It's probably going to be very close to that 53.
As far as wheat trade, again, quiet day today. But we've got wheat above $5. In fact, I think, maize out to $5.23. What's going on in the wheat market?
Yeah, from a demand standpoint, nothing all that good because we have so many other countries competing with the U.S. for that export business. And there's a lot of countries that are going to have record crops this year. Argentina, Australia, Canada had a fairly sizable crop, and Russia's going to have a really big crop. And all this is going to hit the export markets to compete with the U.S. The best thing we have going for U.S. wheat values is the dryness in the southern plains. I mean, we're in the 60s here this week, Bob. All this week, our grass is still green. It hasn't gone into dormancy. And if we get some rain showers, it's going to kind of help this crop a little bit. So we're really dry, and the fact that the crop hasn't gone into dormancy, I think, tells the market that maybe we're a little undervalued with wheat. The new crop wheat was at one time in the 530 range. That seems fairly cheap given this time of year, especially when we may have less wheat acres being seeded. That's another thing that comes out in the report next week is how many winter wheat acres were seeded this fall.
Well, let's take a look at the cattle trade. January feeder cattle up. March, April, May feeder cattle all over $2 higher today. So feeders strong again today.
They sure are, and they are aligned with the feeder cattle index for the most part. We had some big sales yesterday in Oklahoma City, Joplin, Missouri, and those get factored into this feeder cattle index. That index is up over $9 in one day. So we're seeing a real good demand out in the southern plains for these cattle. That hasn't changed, and that's what's driving the feeder cattle market higher, especially the futures markets. Live cattle, certainly looking for its cash trade, but probably won't develop until later in the week. And sometimes we hear rumors and chatter, and sometimes it turns out to be true, sometimes it doesn't. Yesterday we heard rumors about China buying beans. We're hearing rumors that this border between the U.S. and Mexico, if it gets open, it could be January 20th. There's been some inspections done, and so they're kind of getting things in order to bring cattle across the border starting around January the 20th.
Wow, that would be sooner than what I guess earlier expectations were. As far as live cattle, where do you think we're going to be cash?
I would suspect more of a steady go this week instead of $2 to $3 higher, steady to maybe $1 higher this week. I don't think we're going to see any weakness in the cash markets. I do think we're going to see probably at least $1 gains, but the packers, they have deep in the red margins. They really need to start cutting their kills. There was evidence on Monday that they did slow their kills just a little bit to try and prop up the box beef, but we're lower again at midday here in the boxes.
Brian, folks want to talk markets with you. How can they do that?
You can reach me directly at 417-501-5132 is my number, or you can find us online at MidwestMarketSolutions.com.
Midwest Market Solutions, Brian Hoops with us. We'll talk to him again in about an hour and 10 minutes. Hey, coming up on 12:55 here on the Big Show clock. Well, we're going to wrap the marketplace up with some analysis from Brian Hoops, Midwest Market Solutions. Brian, not a lot going on in the marketplace today. We're kind of being told by most of you folks that we're waiting to see what the WASDE report might hold in store for these grains. So what are you looking forward to in the WASDE report coming out next week?
Well, there is a lot of moving pieces in that report that's coming out. So the USDA updates, of course, final production numbers for corn and soybeans. They'll also do winter wheat seedings reports. We'll get our first look at how many acres were planted through the winter wheat plains. We'll have crop production, supply and demand numbers, and then also quarterly grain stocks will be released. So it's a lot of data being pushed onto the market all at one time, and promises to give us several surprises. So, if you're a producer holding maybe some crop in storage or at the elevator unpriced, you may want to look at maybe some fairly cheap, inexpensive option plays. You can buy some put options, 5-6 cents, at the money puts, hold them for 5-6 days, see what the report has to say. That way you have some very cheap insurance in case this is a bearish report and prices move lower. If it's a bullish report, you've had your inventory and that can move higher along with it. So it's a way to reduce some of the risk as this looks to be a very volatile Monday with the big report moves coming out.
Now, you never know what the USDA numbers might be, but most in the trade are looking for a little bit of a reduction as far as size of last year's crop as well. So realistically speaking, what's Midwest Market Solutions looking for?
Yeah, we're looking for a reduction in the corn yields, 1.5 to 2 bushel per acre. I think the soybeans, you could go a half higher or half lower and be very close. Probably that 53 is going to be very close to the actual number. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the yields come down from 186. That was the last estimate from the USDA. I think those numbers are going to prove to be too high, but I guess we'll see Monday what the USDA has to say.
So what are you targeting here? December corn, November beans. I guess probably just not much as far as target for the next week anyway.
Yeah, I'd still like if we get December corn, 470, 75, 480. At that point, that's where you really need to start maybe laying off some risk as far as new crop corn sales. If you haven't done anything, that's a good place to start. And soybeans, we're around that 1075 area. Not a bad price level, but certainly if we get to 11, that's where I think it starts to become more aggressive in doing some type of cash sales or some hedging program there.
Meanwhile, the cattle market continues to grind higher.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to see stronger cash trade this week. The sale barn activity on Monday was very strong. We're looking at a steady to $1 higher probably in the Southern Plains once we get rolling. I would expect it to be a little bit later in the week. Packers don't want to buy cattle too early in the week. They bought very late last week, and I think they're going to do that again this week, paying a little bit stronger money once again.
Brian, how can we find out more about the folks there at Midwest Market Solutions?
Yeah, you can check out our newly revised website, MidwestMarketSolutions.com. If you have any questions on it, give me a call at 417-501-5132.
Thanks, Brian. Brian Hoops, talk to you again coming up here, buddy. MidwestMarketSolutions.com is where you find Brian and the gang. Midwest Market Solutions.